From today we are starting a series on FreeCAD. In this one I'll teach you how to make or recreate your chess pieces like pawn, bishop, horse, king and queen or rook as well. So we start with this version of the FreeCAD 0.21.2 version. Once you open FreeCAD, you have to switch your workbench. You can create new first. Then you switch your workbench to part design. Since we are going to create all the chess pieces, we just start with a body. Then we go to model. In this model combo view, we can see our origin. When we press the space, it gets turned on. Now you can see all the axes x, y, z and all the planes xz, xy and yz. The xy plane is where your 3D print gets printed from the bottom up. So why would you get your chess pieces printed? Suppose you lost one of your chess pieces. What do? Do you go to buy a new set? Obviously not. So you can get this printed, or do you get it molded all the way from China? No. There's another use case for this. What if you actually got a pawn promotion and you can now promote it to king, like queen, rook, bishop or knight, right? So in this case, you'll forget that the pawn was actually promoted. Instead of putting the pawn, you can put your newly printed piece. So let's start creating the pawn. We'll choose the XZ plane and we'll go to this button, red button, which says create sketch. We are starting off with an empty sketch. So what we are going to do is think of your pawn as the chess piece with the cross section. So it's rounded on the top, then it just has like a thin body, then it also flattens out at the bottom. That's how the pawn looks like. We are just going to create part of its head. So let's create the curve. We'll select this endpoints and rim point. Actually, we'll select the center and endpoints. We'll click here. Then we'll click out somewhere. Then we'll go and try to click back on this line. See, we got a curve. Now you can extend this as you want. You can increase the diameter. You can make it go here. But since we are doing the cross section, we'll just complete the left part of the pawn chess piece, not the right part. The right part, I'll show you a trick how you can complete it by yourself by revolving this sketch of mine. So as you see, this point is not being fixed on this axis. Which axis is this? So I'll click this red. If you click this red dot, it becomes green. It shows that it's being selected, and then you click this axis. When you click on the axis, it becomes a darker shade. To fixate this point onto this, you click this one, constraint point onto object, or you can press O. I click this, see, it got fixated. I can't move it anymore. Now I would also like to fixate the center onto this axis, because see, it's kind of turning into a bulky circle. I want it to be symmetric. So I click on this point. I repeat the steps I did just before. Click on the axis and I again click on this, or there is a shortcut O, as you just learned. So this part, the curve part, is done. You can extend it till this far. Okay. Now what we'll take is a construction line. If you click on toggle construction geometry, you will get a construction line. So what does this do? This line doesn't actually get to be a part of your actual sketch. It's just used so that it can guide you through the drawing. I'll click on this so that it's fixated. See this line? It shows that it's vertical. From here on, we can make our other lines so that we can create the body of the chess piece. I'll turn this off. Toggle construction geometry so that I can get back to the normal lines. It has bit of a curve. There's like a ring around the pawn chess piece. So I'll click this. I'll get a line. I'll again click on that dot and I'll click here. If you want to create multiple lines, you can always choose multi-line. This is polyline. You can create a polyline using this. So I can extend it further. This is like the entire body I'm creating. So you don't have to click out and on again. I can just keep clicking and it will complete the sketch for me. So it can extend down like this because it has all the curves in these places. Then it kind of thins out. Always see when I am making the line in these angles, there is one point where I see this vertical line appear. It means my line is going to be created perfectly straight. Again, if you want it to be created on this axis, see on hovering, you get this yellow color. Just press. I want to complete this sketch till the curve. So I am clicking it here. Okay, I right click. Then it says there are redundant constraints, which is the number 22 constraint. I scroll down. I delete it. Looks good. So it says it's under constrained. Means you can still move these things around. When it will say fully constrained, it will be totally fixed. Like even in respect to this x-axis, y-axis. So these are things you can do when you see like every chess piece can look a bit different when someone else is making it. To constrain the lines, I'll put some other construction lines so that you know where the curves are. See, this is blue, so it's a construction line. It won't be used in the actual sketch for printing or anything. I do one here as well. Okay. I'll smoothen these out. I think these look. Again, try to recreate what you see. That's the best way to do a FreeCAD sketch. Okay. I think we are good with our sketch. Things can move, but let's close this and see. If you zoom out, you'll see this is a sketch. But again, we can see this on the z-axis. So how do we actually revolve this sketch to make it into a 3D object? That's your question, right? So we'll give this sketch a name. You can do right click, rename, or you can press F2. What can you name this? You can say base sketch. See, it got renamed. Now you can select this sketch and we will look for a tool which will help us revolve this. See this? Revolution, which says revolve a selected sketch. We click on this. See how it revolved our sketch around this z-axis. So if it's not looking like you want to, you can go in this drop down and select other things until you get. Suppose your sketch is not on this axis, but it's on this XY plane. You want it to revolve around the x-axis. That's fine too. You just have to go and select base x-axis here. That's something you can do. In my case, the line is being shared. The angle, if you decrease the angle, suppose 3. So it will reduce. It will not revolve entirely. I'll click OK. And there lies our chess piece, the first one. Not totally done, but it kinda looks like a pawn, right? This little soldier. So I see you can still see the origins. It's a bit messy, so I'll just go click on the origin and hit space so that I can hide it properly. So there are some rough edges here which you can try to avoid. It's not very pretty if a kid plays with your chess piece. It's very sharp. So what you can do is get these smoothened out at the time of printing. For that, we'll do a fillet. So for that, what you need to do is go to this tool called fillet. Make a fillet on an edge, face or body. It comes as a package in the part design workbench. All these things like sketch, creating body, creating revolution, creating fillet. So now you get the option to select all the edges. If you use all edges, it will just select all it can find. So this is a very recent development, I'll say, in FreeCAD. We did not always have this. The radius. Right now you see it's a very little smoothened. So if you want it more smoothened, it will use more of the radius. You can use the up arrow button or just, 2, 3 you can put. See how it's getting more smoothened. I think this is a good look on our chess piece. Let's hit OK. So there you go. The first chess piece we have here. This is actually looking like the one I have in my hand while making this, and I'm pretty satisfied with the look. So I'll see you guys when I make the other chess pieces.